And welcome back to RealAg Radio. It's now time for a product spotlight with Pride Seeds, and we're joined right now by Sara Meidlinger. She's a market development agronomist for Alberta and Western Saskatchewan for Pride. Sara, great to have you back.
Thanks so much, Sean.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about, we're going to compare growing corn silage versus grain corn and some of the agronomic practices, the similarities, and there are some differences to take in consideration as well. So let's start with the similarities. What are the similarities?
So I guess the main thing is really to grow good feed, you need to grow good corn. So your weed control needs to be bang on if you're growing grain corn, if you're growing corn silage. Your fertility is going to be the same. So if you're one of those growers that side dresses when they grow grain corn, you probably want to consider side dressing when you're growing your silage corn as well. Another thing that we don't necessarily always think about way out west here is your fungicide application. So it's really important to, if you are in an area with high disease pressure, to consider having a fungicide application. Just like for silage corn, we're taking that whole plant. So if we can maximize our yield by keeping those leaves nice and clean, they don't contribute a lot, but they do contribute to yield. So that's definitely something to consider. Just like we would spray a fungicide on our grain corn, we want to do that for our silage corn. And another thing with that is you're going to help protect that ear, right? We want to avoid getting any diseases in the ear that might lead to mycotoxins, which could affect our overall feed out and our animal health. All your planting practices are really quite the same. 2-inch planting depth, planting into moisture, that's all going to stay the same.
Okay, so Sara, that's the similarities. Now let's talk about some of the differences. This is where we really need to pay attention so that we don't make a mistake out there in the field.
Absolutely. So differences might come in your population. So usually we're targeting about 32 to 34,000 when we're planting our grain corn. And what we might do for silage, it could go higher or it could also go lower. So if we go higher, we might just really be trying to maximize that overall tonnage per acre. So we might bump it up to 36, 38,000 plants per acre. On the flip side of that, we might actually plant a little bit lower, closer to 28 to 30,000 plants per acre in order to maintain that late season plant health. So if you have a lot of disease risk, Gauss's wilt, gray leaf spot, corn leaf blight, rust, we're going to plant them at less plants per acre. So we just can reduce that overall disease pressure. And especially with silage hybrids or a dual purpose hybrid, you're going to have a bit more leaf matter than maybe you would on a grain corn hybrid. And then also in a lower population, you might be able to manage the dry down a little bit. You might be able to get away with a little bit quicker dry down depending on your hybrid or your growing area.
So Sara, am I okay to go with kind of that one of those hybrids that could be a grain hybrid, but also it's okay for silage, or should I choose one or the other?
No, Sean, you can definitely go with what I'd call a dual purpose hybrid. So that could be a hybrid like a 4939 or a 7373. And these are hybrids you can plant, and you can go into the season thinking, oh, I'm going to harvest this for grain, get a bit of a drought, the mother nature doesn't really cooperate, and then that's where you can go in and silage it. Or if you just need a little bit extra, you can take, let's say half the field for silage and leave the rest out. So that's where a dual purpose hybrid really comes in handy.
Okay, so if I'm thinking about straight, like I know I'm going silage, I'm not going to go the dual purpose. What hybrid would you recommend?
So in that case, I'd recommend a silage specific. For the area I cover, AS 1047 RR is my go-to hybrid. It's very popular, and it just offers a bit more of a wider harvest window, slower dry down, and it can just help you manage your harvest, especially when you have a lot of acres of corn silage to get, or you're waiting on a custom chopper. That whole plant moisture to get it in your pit is really critical. So those silage specifics can help manage that while still producing high yields and high quality silage.
Yeah, I just want to circle back to fungicide. Does it make sense to use a fungicide on silage corn?
Yeah, I think it does, depending on your area. If you are in an area with high disease pressure, absolutely, I think it's worth it. If you're not, maybe not. Maybe if you're doing a lot of corn on corn, you definitely just need to kind of see what each year brings. And I think it could definitely pay off in the long run, just to keep that overall plant health up and to reduce your risk of any ear molds in your ear.
Want to remind everybody that Pride Seeds is one of the sponsors of our long-running corn school. You can find all the great episodes by going to cornschool.com. Sara, if somebody wants more information on Pride Seeds' portfolio and the lineup of hybrids, where do they go?
They can go to prideseeds.com, or they can reach out to their local market development agronomist or regional manager.
Awesome stuff. Sara, thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
We'll be right back on RealAg Radio right after this quick break.